Hi, my name is Erica Wang and I chose number 2 for the oral storytelling presentation, which has the elements of a girl getting tricked, a young girl, ugly, slipper, and meadow. And the ending is still to this day they welcome any wanderers who need a bed to sleep in and a warm meal. So, once upon a time, in a land far, far away in the land of Norland, two babies were born on the same exact day. Although they were born into completely different lives, their paths would one day cross. A baby girl was born in the early morning into a family of poverty. Her name was Grace, which means blessing. Her parents loved her dearly and they wished they could give her everything in the world. However, due to their poverty, they struggled every day to put food on the table and to have a roof over their heads. They also lived in the poorest part of Norland, which was very far away from the rich people and also the royals. On the other side of Norland, a baby prince was born by the name of Felix, which means happy and fortunate. He was born in the gigantic castle of Norland, and there was even a parade held for him outside of the castle for him being born. He also had loving parents, and he had everything in the world that he could imagine. A bunch of clothes, food, even his own maids, and a bunch of toys. Grace didn't have a lot, but she created her own happiness in her life, and she was happy with the small things around her. Her family was very important to her, and she valued them very much. She had a bright smile and a kind heart, which many people adored. She had long blonde hair, which she rarely brushed, and beautiful blue eyes, and she always wore a purple dress that her mom made her, but had faded to pink because of how old it was. As she grew older, she became a huge people person, and she definitely enjoyed the company of others, and she liked to venture around. On the other hand, Felix was quite the opposite. He was born an only child and didn't have anyone to play with, and he often resorted to reading in his castle, and he kept to himself. He didn't go outside unless he had to for royal events. As he grew older, he realized that he wanted people's approval, and he always wanted to be a great king, and he worried about how people viewed him and if he would do well for Norland. So one day, Grace went into a meadow to go pick some flowers for her mother's birthday to give her a bouquet, and the meadow happened to be by the castle. As she was picking flowers, an old lady happened to come out of the shadows, and they both smiled. Grace smiled out of kindness, and the old lady kind of had a creepy smile. And this old lady was actually an ugly witch. She started asking a bunch of weird questions, such as Grace's name, age, and where she was from, and pretty soon she even grabbed Grace's hand. And she started using her special powers, which is to read people's minds and to know their secret desires and what they want in life. So once she saw what Grace really wanted in life, she told Grace that she could give her her dream life and give her whatever she wanted, such as living in a big house, a bunch of clothes, and even true love, in exchange for one thing, which was Grace's soul once she died. And Grace thought about it, but she quickly rejected the ugly witch because she forgot about the most important thing to Grace, which was her family. So, Grace smiled and kindly rejected her, and she told the witch that she was happy with her life right now, and she was very happy with the people she had around her. She had a roof over her head, and she did have food to feed herself, so there wasn't any more that she really needed, even though the other things would be nice. So she left with the bouquet and a basket full of flowers, and the witch was left in the meadow, distraught and plotting her next victim. The very next day, Prince Felix happened to actually go outside of the castle, and he actually wandered into the meadow, which was by the castle, to get some fresh air. And as he was sitting there, he sat on a tree stump and he was pondering life. The old ugly witch came out again, and she knew exactly who he was because he's the prince of Norland. So she quickly went over to him, tried to make conversation, and grabbed his hand and used her special powers on him again and figured out his desires, which was to be adored by people, to be accepted by the people of Norland, and to become a great king for his country or land. So she made the same exact promise that she made with Grace, and she told him that if he gave her his soul once he died, she would or if he promised to do that, she would give him the life he truly desired. And he thought about it, and he actually agreed because he was desperate for what he wanted. and he was insecure about what he had, and he was kind of weak-minded. So after she told him everything that she would give him, they shook hands, and she also gave Felix a slipper because that would be a reminder for him of the deal they made. So Felix left back to his castle, kind of happy that he made this deal because he felt like he was going to get what he wanted. And as the ugly old witch was going back into the shadows, she quietly whispered to herself, "I'll be generous and give you 20 years to live your dream." And after that, she vanished. So Prince Felix went back to his castle and everything was absolutely perfect. He soon became the king of Norland and even got married and had 3 kids. He had great health and everyone adored him and his family. He was a good king and everything was just great. And then one day, when he was alone in his room, the ugly old witch appeared again, and she told him, "I'm back. Your time is up," and snapped her fingers and vanished, and took the slipper back. King Felix was in complete shock, and he actually fell to the ground, probably fainting or because he was ill now. He later woke up in bed with his family and a bunch of doctors around him, but no one knew what to do because they couldn't diagnose him and they had no idea what kind of spell was put on him. Then the very best doctor of Norland was called in, and it was actually a female, which was very rare at this time. And it was actually Grace. After rejecting the ugly old witch, Grace had actually studied really hard and tried her best, and she worked her way into becoming the best doctor of Norland. So King Felix confessed all that happened, and even the deal he made, and Grace wasn't shocked because the same exact witch went to her. So she told him her story and comforted him, and she gave him a special drink and told him to rest. After a few days of rest, he got a lot better, and he called her back in so he could thank her. And he realized that he had everything in his life before he even made the deal, but he gave it all up because of the little things he wanted in life, whereas Grace had nothing to begin with, and she worked her way to success and to her dream. So King Felix learned that making decisions based on what you want in the short term can definitely affect you in the long term, and it's not what is best. After he was fully cured, he decided he wanted to give back and help others. And he realized how fortunate he was and is. So now, still to this day, he welcomes any wanderers into his castle to have a bed to sleep in and a warm meal. The end.